listen and check, because you cannot say for all the students.
Affirmative.
Yeah.
Maybe 90% of them,
Yeah,
but at least somebody will need it, yes?
And that feels too abrupt. Like if you go immediately into details, seems odd, like, again, depends on people, on the task, but it's much, more, it feels much more smoothly when you do this, like, step by step, like, gist, then details,
Of course, they should get the content and the specific, and it's bad, usually it's bad. Sometimes it kind of happens.
And once again, what's not hard, and you can consider it not hard, but then actually for some students, something can be really pretty much not so easy.
Stronger, weaker students.
Sure.
So again, and sometimes students think that, oh my God, I will not understand, the second task is going to be so difficult, so I will start focusing on the second task right away. I'll skip the first task. So have you noticed your students doing this?
Yes, and sometimes actually when you ask questions only about the gist reading, they start justifying the given arguments, already given details from the second task. So they have already answered all the questions from the second. This happens, and this when I don't listen for the second time, when they gave me everything, even without seeing those questions, they already have spoken. Like this, because in this case I wouldn't listen.
Okay, I see. But again, don't forget about the rationale behind each task. What you want your students to develop. I regroup students, and then we did listening reading.
What was the purpose of it?
Okay, yes, end of story.
Why?
Why?
Because.
Because I need
to move.
To regroup my students 2 times per lesson. And I forgot
I
to do
needed
it.
to get a copy,
Yes. So we did listen and read and answer some questions individually, then I regrouped them to compare the answers. Okay, yeah, so this is the right way. Yeah, fine. After true-false task quickly elicited the right answers, most people answered correctly.
They could check in pairs first, and then you could listen in class.
Yes.
But nothing wrong with this one, like, at least. You can build on it, like, checking in pairs, but I don't see anything wrong, like, with this, sequence.
Yeah, the sequence is fine, but the thing is that with true or false, it's easy to guess. Yes,
So
true.
you should
Okay,
ask
no,
them
it's not.
to justify
Yeah.
the response.
So ask them to justify, even if it is true. Yeah, can you prove that it's true? Yeah, can you read the line from the text? Yeah, that proves that it's true. I ask students to read the text individually.
Then you're a perfect teacher.
I ask students to read the text aloud in class one by one, which enabled me to correct their pronunciation on the spot.
It's not.
It's
It's not pronunciation, task.
But it's good. I appreciate that.
I would say, I think it's possible on lower levels when they can read it maybe short text one by
Of course.
one. So a couple of
Especially with
maybe.
students. Sometimes my students,
When the
intermediate
text-
students, they have horrible reading. I'm terrified with this.
Okay. Yes,
I get
what
Read
is
it
your
home.
aim? What is your
You said
aim?
it does. Read it home now.
What is your aim if you ask your students to read aloud?
pronunciation.
Check
Okay,
pronunciation.
pronunciation. But you are working on developing reading skills. Are you combining like two aims at the same
Of
time?
course, two aims.
Now, some people are concentrating on pronunciation of those people who are making
So
mistakes.
if I am concentrating on my pronunciation, I'm not focusing on the information. So deal with the first aim, work on something, on true or false, answering questions and so on and so forth. And then if you need to work on pronunciation, then do something with this text. Read it aloud, role play it, I don't know, read it with different intonation, with different emotions. So it is going to be your pronunciation, work on pronunciation. But these are two different stages. I ask students to read the script while developing listening skills to give the answers for comprehension tasks.
I think it can be used just as an additional thing if they are really struggling maybe with answers after the second listen. But
Okay.
if it's listening skills, they should
Yeah,
don't
learning how
use the
to
text.
listen in,
It's
they
listening
need
task,
to
yeah.
read this.
Yeah,
So
don't-
again,
So
Yeah.
so really
if we're developing listening skills and reading at the same time, what are we developing?
Yeah.
Two
Reading.
Maybe after.
Reading. We're
Yeah.
developing
Yeah.
reading.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Maybe
Okay.
after just to check your answers so they can
Maybe,
still go
yeah.
to text.
Maybe. Yes.
Maybe,
For
yeah,
comparing. Yeah.
Yeah.
For checking
Yeah.
the answers. Okay.
Why true,
Yes.
false, why
Mhm.
false, this so they can find
Yes.
if they
Yeah.
didn't get it.
Mhm.
Okay. Or if you want your students to focus on some functional language, but again, this is your post listening, post listening, on listening. Yeah. So, but together. To make students understand the task, the details better, stop an audio before each question, before each gap.
I think it's possible sometimes.
Sometimes, yeah, sometimes we do it, yes, but,
not the
Details.
Not
the
each
first
gap.
time we
uh-huh.
replay them.
Maybe that is an open question and they need to write down the answer.
If it is a name of your task.
So you could just
Uh-huh.
yes, detail.
Okay. But if they need to write one word, if they need to write a number,
No.
Yeah, you don't do that.
uh-huh.
You mustn't do that.
It won't help
Is
them.
it natural?
No, of course not.
Uh-huh.
Usually it's like this can maybe predict
Mhm.
what's going to happen next.
Even while having like face-to-face conversation with someone, it's not very natural to stop person after each piece of information to clarify it. Yeah.
Unless you talk to your grandma.
Okay. Yeah. But not that.
It's still a
Yeah.
skill, you know.
So we are trying to prepare our students for real life situations. In real life, if they're listening to the radio, yeah, or to the podcast, yeah, they are going to listen to it non-stop. Yeah. Read a text. Students read a text, and when they were doing a comprehension task, 5 students asked me to explain one word. I told them to guess from the context. In the end, everyone was unable to answer question 3.
British. Anticipate.
Is it always possible to understand a word from the context? Yes, sometimes it's just impossible, and sometimes teachers can ask students to do that, but sometimes it's just impossible. So read the text yourself. Think, can my students do that?
I think you can check that. If they ask you, you say, okay, maybe you can ask for someone to explain it open class, or for them to do it on the spot.
Okay.
Okay, what do you think?
Yeah.
If they don't know, then you explain. So you eliminate the
Yeah.
problem.
Okay.
So you
Yes,
know the
good
problem.
point. Yeah. So sometimes other students might know the word, but if we forget about the students who know the meaning of that word, and we're just working with the students who need to understand the meaning of the word from the context, sometimes the sentence doesn't provide with the context. So it might happen. So you need to read your text and anticipate such situations. Okay. Thank you very much for your wonderful ideas. And now I would like to share my ideas with you. So we will go through a few slides and I will tell about different ideas that might be used and might be stolen. So, bingo. The teacher introduces the topic, for example, weather forecast, and gets students to brainstorm words connected to the topic area. Teacher asks students which word they think are most likely to come up in the listening text. Students write the words on a bingo card in their notes, and students listen to the recording and cross off the words they hear. So what stage is it? What is good about this activity? What is bad about this activity?
Listening.
Uh-huh.
And it's very engaging, like I want to play that. Yes.
Yeah. So it activates students' background knowledge. Yeah, in methodology, it is there is a very nice word, activating students' schemata. Yeah. The word which is used only in methodology, in ESL methodology, and this word doesn't exist actually in other contexts. So, but it helps students to unlock their understanding and lower the filters. Yeah, I mean, when students don't know what they are going to listen to or read about, and now they start. Actually, this is why we're doing all these pre-stages. We're generating students' interest. So students are focusing on the topic, and they already ready to listen to certain words in a certain context. Jigsaw reading. Yeah, this is actually one of old school classic tasks. Who can help me explain how to perform it? So, teacher gives students different tasks. For example, weather forecast.
Okay, so then there are, let's say, three, like in this example, three groups.
4.
Okay, so they work with people who sit near them to complete their task.
Okay.
And they have some part of information. They don't have everything, but they have a part. Yeah. And then you regroup them. So they have ABC groups, right?
Okay.
And then you regroup them so they have like ABC groups. Yeah, and then they share information that they've got to complete the other tasks.
Okay, yeah. So the point is that first students work in groups A, B, 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 C, 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 and
the same task?
yeah, and they complete one task, and then they are regrouped and they exchange the information. Okay. Jigsaw listening. Yeah, one group is listening, to one piece of information or watching to one video. They are completing some tasks. Then another group is doing the same task, but with another video or with another audio, and then they exchange the information.
How to conduct this?
I was on a lesson a few days ago that used this technique. One part of students, one group they watch video, the other part they walk out and they have a text.
Yes.
Yeah. And when they come together and like discuss, usually it's like one topic but different aspects. For example, the one that we did was about Amsterdam, and one was about some, cultural places, like museums, stuff like that. And the other was about, all the fun stuff, like coffee shops and, things of this nature. And you have like two groups with, two different views, and they can share what they learned.
Okay, yeah. So you can ask, like half of your class to leave the classroom and, do it outside, and we can use. Yes, why not? Yeah, and your students can watch a video on YouTube, for example, or you can share a video or an audio on library, for example. Yeah. So there is always a way how to arrange. You need to think about the classroom management, but it is possible. Dictogloss. Dictogloss? Tell students that you're going to read a short section of the dialogue, of a text, whatever. And you want them to listen without writing anything down. Yeah? So you're reading at a normal speech rate. Then, next round, read it again and tell students to write down just the keywords. So you're reading again at the usual pace, and your students are writing some key elements, keywords. Now put students in groups of 4, maybe in pairs, and ask them to reconstruct, to compare their notes. So they have, so they build up, they have a fuller text. Then you're reading again, and then they are trying to complete the blanks, and then you ask them to work in pairs or in groups of 4 again, and then they help each other. So you're leading your students to the final product. Then you're showing them the original text and they are comparing. So usually they're really happy to see how close they are to the original text, and then you can do whatever you want to with this text. You can work on language and lexis and so on and so forth. destroyed text. So you get a text ripped off, burnt. They try to get a general idea from the parts. Yeah. So great gist idea. A text is photocopied and crumpled. Students are not allowed to turn a snowball. They can only use their pens or pencils. So they can read only like this. And they get gist idea.
Good luck.
So they can do like this. Yeah. But actually the same thing. Yeah. Texts are cut in spirals, stick spirals to the walls. Students walk around and get the gist idea of the text. Yeah. So of course if they can see the whole text, but if you hold the text in the middle, if you stick it, then they can see only the text in the spiral. Puzzles. A text is enlarged and cut into pieces diagonally, horizontally, like randomly. Option 1, the pieces are on the wall. Students walk around and figure out what the text is about. Again, so you've got only one text, yeah? So they come to one piece, so it's just the middle, yeah, and there they can see only one part. But it's usually enough to understand the general view. Oh, we're going to read about Amsterdam, yeah? The pieces are distributed among students. Students work in groups and figure out what the text is about without showing their pieces to each other. You know, they can just say, oh, I think there is some information about museums in Amsterdam. Oh, but I've got the information about coffee shops. Grammarization. Teacher gives listening reading text without any grammar. Students reconstruct the text and listen or read to check. Yeah? No grammar. So the text...
Just infinitives, like
infinitives, yeah. One day she went to one day she go to the shop that announced final sales shoes, and the whole text is written in infinitives. Or there are no articles, let's say, or no prepositions, or every seventh word is wiped out.
Have you read Catch 22? Have you read Catch 22?
No.
That's what this guy did. He was working on the post, and for fun he would, do this to people's letters, like to see what it looks like. Yeah, that's fun.
Okay, yeah. And your students can guess, so they can get gist from the text, and you can use this text for predicting, for training your students to understand what parts of speech they need to use, what collocates with what, so it develops their understanding of language. Crosses and gnaws, really good for identifying key words, key language, key information. So students draw a grid for crosses and gnaws, and students write keywords, expressions, maybe numbers in these 9 cells. So students are choosing these words by themselves. So teachers do not interfere. So then students use their notes for retelling this text. So the books are closed, for example, yes, and they can use only their notes. Students are not allowed to write sentences, but they can write expressions. Sometimes numbers, sometimes dates, sometimes expressions. Can be used for jigsaw reading. Yeah.
So how will they play like this game crosses and gnaws?
They are not playing crosses and
That's true.
Yeah, they are not. It's just it actually is just...
It's just a table,
For
right?
dividing,
Yes, absolutely. If you want to add this element of crosses and gnaws,
After that, they can...
while retelling, they can cross out.
Yeah, like they use.
They cross
but then
out.
they have to have they have to share one piece of.
But it's
After that, they can like play vocabulary game. It's
Yes.
like you need to
Give
explain the
definitions.
word, yes, and so on.
Good, thank you. Running dictation. Students work in groups. One member of each group runs to the list of questions or truthful statements, memorizes them, runs back and dictates the questions to the team members. Runners and writers swap. Yeah, you can say after each minute you can ask your students to swap. Yeah, and then students answer the questions in group. Actually, you are doing absolutely the same task, absolutely the same task for details. What happened? No.
The cooler stopped working, I guess.
Yes, I think so. It was on for too long time. Okay. Anyway, you are doing absolutely the same task. You are reading for details, but you are adding some element of, you're changing the dynamics of the lesson. Your students are training their memory. I think it's fine. The next activity is, it says 70, 50, 30 words. So students retell the text or rewrite, summarize a text in 70 words. Exactly, in 70 words. Okay. Then you say, well done. Now you need to retell your text in 50 words. Absolutely the same text in 50 words. Well done in 30 words.
How will they count? Who will count?
They will count.
You need to trust them.
That's fine.
They will count. They will ask you, is a word? Is article a word?
Of course it is.
Of course it is. It is a word.
Definitely.
Reviews and postcards. So students write reviews to the text, articles, books, or students write postcards to authors or main characters. If you are reading some kind of fiction, they can write some postcards